Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is my very first, and maybe not my last, Donald Trump, Gavin Newsom 2024 election prediction video. This is totally exclusive. We've got Trump, Newsom, and RFK Jr., who might play a huge role if it is Newsom. There is so much to break down in terms of Newsom. There's a lot of rumors right now, possibly. You've got things going around Schumer, Hillary, Obama. They might schedule this big rally with Biden and he might symbolically step down if that's the route they take. Now, there's also a lot of sentiment that Biden has tried to salvage his campaign. They've done a ton of damage control. Jill is going around screaming everywhere, trying to say that Biden is fine, he's still fit. There's a lot of people playing cover for Biden right now saying CNN screwed him. They're saying that CNN now is in bed with the Republicans, which is just amazing. I can't believe Republicans got CNN now. That's going to be huge for them. But let's just break this down. The number one issue for Gavin Newsom, and this is really interesting in terms of politics, he's not known. That's why 6 or 7 months ago, a lot of us were saying, based on how bad Biden's approval rating was, they're going to swap Biden out within the next 2 or 3 months. They're going to put in Newsom. He'll win kind of a sham primary. He will obviously have multiple debates in the primary process, so he'll get the notoriety, at least within the Democratic Party and possibly some of the independents that follow. The problem is he does not have the notoriety right now, and he is going to want to debate Trump 100 times. Not only because I'm sure he thinks he can beat Trump in a debate, and he is going to be way better than Biden in terms of debating. Then again, anyone would, but Newsom's like this young, slick, liberal boy. He'll be really good debating. I think Trump can handle him, but Trump's going to have to be better than he was against Biden. I've seen a lot of Republicans kind of, simp for Trump. I'm not saying Trump was bad, but there were some issues towards the end, not answering the questions, just rambling on, according to independents, and that's who you need to win. Now, Newsom is going to want to debate Trump 50, 100 times. Does Trump give Newsom the notoriety? I think Trump will agree to one debate with Newsom if this plays out where Newsom is installed, possibly at the DNC, giving them momentum, leading into a potential debate maybe in September, maybe in October. Newsom's going to say, let's do 3 debates, 4 debates. Trump's going to be like, I don't really want to give him any more notoriety, so maybe Trump will do 1 debate, but I don't know about more than that. Probably not. So it is Trump, it is Newsom, and it is Kennedy Jr., and there are some things with 3 different states. It's actually 3 of the swing states, Nevada, Wisconsin, and Georgia, possibly Newsom not being allowed on the ballot based on the current timeline, possibly replacing Biden this late. I do think under the 25th Amendment, there could be an exemption, and I would imagine with all the loopholes, they would be able to work something like that out. But right now, especially Wisconsin, that's a state that the Democrats need. The timeline or the deadline is already passed in terms of Newsom. If Biden gets replaced, even if they make up some sham thing about Biden's health and, him having some type of situation, I think that would be the number one thing. Like, say in a month, something happens with Biden medically, he gets hospitalized and they're like, oh, we've got no choice. Biden comes out, he says, I love the country. Obama's there, Hillary's there, they're all there. He's like, I love this country, but I have to step down. The Democrats do this, ridiculous charade where it's going to be a democratic process, but we all know during the DNC, the delegates are all going to go with Newsom. That could be what ends up happening. I'm not saying for sure. I'm actually leaning towards they might stick with Biden because this seems like a hypothetical and logistical mess. And Newsom would need to get his name out there so much within the span of the next 4 months. It's going to be very tough for him. But let's just go through this, see how it would be. I do want to add some context, and admittedly, this is very little context, and really, these polls are pretty much meaningless because there's just a lot of people that don't know who Gavin Newsom is, and on top of that, this is a hypothetical matchup. So a lot of these people who possibly would be voting for Biden probably see Newsom, and they just like, I'm just going to vote for Kennedy, or they're not going to vote at all. So you can see you've got a Rasmussen, the Republican pollster, Trump plus 17. That was back in early March. There's only 3 polls. Emerson, respectable. In February, Trump was plus 10. This is general popular vote head-to-head. If that's true, I mean, Trump would destroy Newsom, obviously, but it's just a singular poll. And then you do have Fox News. Trump only plus 4. That was last November. So you've got plus 4, plus 10, plus 17. You do have the Hill coming out and reporting that Biden performs better against Trump than Harris and Newsom. That's not surprising. This was based off the Emerson poll. They actually do have Whitmer as well, which is just funny because there's been rumors that she might be the choice. I don't think so. But let's actually fill this out. Let's stop stalling. And we do have Newsom. I would say taking, some people might disagree with this. Obviously, California, the governor of California, he did get recalled, but nothing came of it. Very little support. Republicans in California recalled him. Obviously, there's huge issues with Newsom when it comes to the pandemic, his face-off with DeSantis, where DeSantis just destroyed him. And what I mean by that, because a lot of people don't understand, what it was two different philosophies. The true power Republican Florida, which was, I guess, at the time, a swing state still back in like 2020, 2021 when this was happening. And then you've got California, super liberal, and you've got Newsom saying to DeSantis, you've opened up too early, you're killing everyone, you're reckless. And what ends up happening, it becomes abundantly clear based on the numbers. If you're under the age of 60, you've got basically no chance of dying. Now, obviously, there are situations where that happens and it's terrible, but you can't, use the exception to make the rule like they did in California. And I don't even think that's really what they did. I think Newsom and California is just so liberal that they wanted to lock down. They wanted to gaslight everyone. If you're a Republican and you open up, you're killing people. You're disgusting. California, I don't have the numbers. If Newsom becomes the nominee, I'm going to have to look it up. So many small businesses closing. The bullheadedness to where in early 2023, they still had places closed because Newsom could not admit he was wrong when it came to the shutdowns and the lockdowns in California versus Florida. Florida, in terms of net population, number one gainer. Was it 2022 or 2023? Maybe the combination of the 2 years. California lost the most people. DeSantis crushed Newsom. And then they had this sham debate, and some Republicans were like, oh, Newsom was so good in the debate. DeSantis annihilated Newsom, embarrassed him during the COVID showdown. So that's really what happened there, and Newsom could not admit he was wrong, so he kept things closed, and he made Americans suffer for political leverage. It's very sad. So that's what happened there, and I'm saying that's why DeSantis just wow. And that's like all these Republicans like boosting up Newsom like he's this crazy, young, unbelievable leader. He was embarrassed during his biggest crisis, and he was completely wrong. Like he was literally completely wrong, closing everything down, not paying attention to the statistics that were updated in 2022 that said if you're, below the age of 55, you basically got no chance of dying. This is all crazy stuff. I'm going to give my prediction and shut up about this because this is important. So you do have Oregon, you do have Washington. Listen, there was actually a poll that came out in Oregon. It was a pollster that I think is like unregulated or something. They had Trump +1 in Oregon. And there is a lot of people on the eastern side of Oregon that are super liberal. It's all rural. Obviously, you've got Portland, like the birthplace of Antifa, right along the coast there. But there are a lot of people in eastern Oregon that do want to join Idaho, and possibly Oregon gets chopped down even further and Idaho gets another electoral vote. It's like the greater Idaho movement. I'm serious. Look it up. When it comes to, obviously, we're just going to go, I guess, in order, going from West Coast to East Coast. That's what I always do. Obviously, all of these states will be going to Trump. Nobody's really going to deny it. You do also have the Nebraska at large. I would say Trump sweeps Nebraska. The only one that Biden might win is the 2nd district. He won it in 2020. There was one poll that I saw. Maybe there's been another one. But the last one that I saw for 2024, it was just one poll, and it's obviously a very small population because it's split up into districts. But the 2nd district, it was Trump +3. With Newsom, I think Trump easily wins it by 10 or 11. Newsom will not be able to relate to a lot of the people on not only on the East Coast, but also in a a rural, or I guess it's not a rural area, the 2nd district. It is a metropolitan area. That's why Biden was able to win it. But still, in a state like Nebraska, California governor, it's not going to happen. I've got Trump winning all of the electoral votes in Nebraska, and I still think he can win all of them against Biden as well. But I do think he goes up even further if they switch from Biden to Newsom. I know that's hard for people to believe because Newsom is going to debate way better, but you have to understand, a lot of people don't know Newsom. A lot of normal people, they're like, who's this guy? And then you've got all this stuff about COVID and just Newsom not being able to relate to a lot of these people in other parts of the United States, as opposed to Trump. Everyone knows Trump. So I think Trump's going to have an advantage there. Nevada is right next to California. I do think Trump will win Nevada, whether it's Newsom, whether it's Biden. He seems very, like he's in a very good spot. I know Republicans have not won this state in a while. It's been like a few decades, but with the polls that I'm seeing, Trump's up by 5-6 basically routinely against Biden. I don't think that changes much with Newsom, especially that tax that Trump want no tax on tips. That's going to be huge, especially in Nevada with Las Vegas. You do have Utah, Trump obviously winning that state. Colorado, I do think Newsom wins. Arizona is another one I think Trump would win. So comparing Biden to Newsom, I will be honest, I do think Biden electorally probably would be better. It just depends the narrative around Newsom. Can Newsom get his name out there quick enough? Can they really rally around him? I'm sure they would be doing these huge rallies with all of the top Democratic influencers over the past 40, 50 years to try and get Newsom out to everyone. But you have to understand, when you're talking about the Democrats, it's not only a Newsom thing and grading Newsom, it's also the idea that Americans feel lied to the last 2-3 years when the whole charade was going around with MSNBC and CNN saying, oh, the Republicans, it's all deep fakes, it's all crap. No, it was legitimate. Biden is not fit at this point. And so a lot of independent people are going to say, we're not stupid. We're not going to vote for Newsom just because you said, whoopsie, we know the last 3.5 years were terrible, but now we've got a new, younger Silver Fox candidate. Go vote for him. He's so young, and Newsom is like this. I mean, Newsom is basically being pussy whipped right now by the Democratic Party. He's simping for them. He comes out, he's during the debate or after the debate, he tries to still talk up Biden. They ask him, are you going to run? Are you going to replace Biden? Everyone thinks this was terrible. CNN is admitting it's horrible. And Newsom's like, no, Biden was great. I mean, he fully simps for that party. So if he becomes the nominee, he's going to go real hard, obviously. When it comes to New Mexico, look, you could make a big argument that Trump could win New Mexico if it's against Newsom, but I will give Newsom New Mexico. When it comes to a state like Minnesota, I do think Trump slightly wins it. We're already seeing, actually, I don't know. It would be, it's very hard to predict this. It's just so hypothetical because we just have no polls, and I don't know what is their strategy in terms of rolling Newsom out. How are the independents going to react to the liberals admitting that they were wrong and they lied to people on Biden, that he's not fit? That's another reason why they might just stick with Biden and say, well, we have the narrative. Biden performed well in the second half of the debate. Notice they tried to hijack the narrative, and they did this on CNN. They were like, well, Biden sucked in the first half, but on actual topics, Biden beat Trump. Where? Biden could barely talk throughout the entire debate. He didn't even win the abortion issue. I mean, he had a horrible stumble during the abortion topic. I don't even know what he was saying about the sisters. So Biden, this whole narrative that, oh, Biden, he might have stumbled at the beginning, but he just beat Trump on all of the actual issues that voters, care about. It's totally false. Biden just at this point cannot debate. They're trying to cope because they know it was so bad, and they're trying to be like, well, I'm fair. I admit Biden sucked in the first half, but on the actual issues, he won. Huh? It's just all crap. So you also do have Iowa. I think obviously Trump would win Iowa against Newsom. Wouldn't even be close. Obviously all these states I don't even have to talk about, including Texas. It's funny. Texas right now is like a 92% chance for Trump. I guess the polling is like only +6, +7, but Trump is not losing Texas. The liberal migration there has gone down pretty significantly. Also, you do have Trump winning Alaska. I will give Newsom Hawaii, although it's interesting. It seems like Trump's support is getting higher, and maybe RFK becomes a factor in Hawaii. That's another state. I will have RFK Jr. winning a state in this. It's going to be a smaller state, though. You do also have Wisconsin. So here it is, Wisconsin. Now, I do think if it is Newsom, they will find a way to get him on the ballot. But if they actually cannot, what's going to happen is all of the liberals will rally around Kennedy, and they're basically going to try and use Kennedy. I mean, you've seen the movie, 2000 Mules. Well, Kennedy is going to be another mule for them, literally in Wisconsin. They're going to tell everyone, vote for Kennedy, keep the 10 electoral votes away from Trump, but they need the 10 electoral votes. This is because the Democrats' math this year is so bad, because Florida's not a swing state, Ohio's not a swing state, Georgia, they've already conceded it's going back to Trump. it's horrible math. You've got Nevada and Arizona likely going to Trump, at least Nevada. Arizona maybe. Right now Trump's leading. But they need those 10 electoral votes. So even if Kennedy wins those 10 electoral votes, I don't think it matters. The Democrats need to win that state. So I think they try and do something. They say Biden is stepping down. He just can't continue. It's so sad. We have to, get someone. It's going to be Democratic during the DNC. Of course, they're going to pick. The donors are going to pick. They've picked the last three liberal candidates in 2016, 2020, and now 2024. If this happens, they will have picked another one. But I think Trump wins Wisconsin at this point. There's obviously a lot of cloudiness surrounding it under this hypothetical matchup with Newsom possibly or maybe not being on the ballot. And then even if he was on the ballot, I just don't know how I can predict. And I don't know how Newsom, and this is key. This is key right now. Biden would perform, this is my opinion, way better in the Rust Belt states, the very important states this election cycle, than Newsom, a Californian governor who cannot relate to those people at all. So that might be another reason why they stick with Biden, because Newsom would get crushed. I think Trump wins all of these important swing states in the Rust Belt, and then obviously Ohio, Florida as well. Illinois, I will give to Newsom. I just don't think it swings quick enough. We'll make it a little bit darker blue. He wins it by about 15 points, maybe 12. And then you do have all of these states going to Trump, including Georgia. I think Trump, they've basically conceded it even with Biden. But think about it. Newsom from California winning Georgia, especially with their operation in 2020, where they went try hard, balls to the wall. They're going around ballot harvesting in the inner cities. The vote counts rise. The amount of participation was just ridiculous, and Biden still barely won. And now Biden has a horrible approval rating. A lot of those people don't follow politics. They're not even going to know who Newsom is. Zero chance Newsom wins that state. I'm just being honest. South Carolina, North Carolina, maybe, I don't know. Maybe Newsom might have a better chance to win North Carolina. I am going to give Newsom Virginia. I know people will disagree with that, but it feels like, Newsom's this sophisticated guy and he might be able to win Virginia. But obviously this election would go to Trump. I think Trump possibly could win New York and New Jersey. I'm being dead honest. It depends on the debates with Newsom. I am going to be giving Newsom New York. He hangs on to it. I think Trump wins New Jersey. We saw a poll. I think Biden performs better than Newsom in New Jersey against Trump. And Biden, even him, he was losing by a point. I'm not saying that poll is correct, but we've seen multiple polls now, a head-to-head Biden-Trump matchup in New Jersey, and it's a 5-point lead for Biden. Now you've got Newsom from California. Nobody knows him. I could see Trump winning New Jersey, even if he loses a state like Virginia. You do have all these other dimple states. So this is where I'm going to give RFK a state. It's going to be smaller population. I actually might give him 2 states. I might give him Maine, the at-large, because right now people think probably Trump's going to, it's basically 50-50. Originally people thought Biden was going to win it, but now there's been some positive polls for Trump. I'm going to give a shout out to RFK Jr. in an election like this in some states with some low population. I think you're going to get, if they do go to Newsom, some of these Democrats who are kind of on the fence, they really don't like Biden, but they're really never Trump people. They think he's a threat. But now they're sitting there saying, well, the Democratic Party is so unstable. They lied to us. And let me just zoom this in because I realized I was in the way there. I'm sorry. I thought I was going to remember to do that and I didn't do it. Well, I guess I remember now. But the point of it is, a lot of these states, I think a lot of people that are just slight liberals are just going to vote for Kennedy because Kennedy is a legitimate independent option. It's not like a Jill Stein situation where you're voting for a sham candidate who barely, is in the news and gets less than 1%. It's totally demoralizing. At least Kennedy, even though he's not at the debates, everybody knows him. He's announced like a year ago, originally running, trying to be a Democrat, switching to independent after they railroaded him and didn't allow him to debate. I understand Biden's the incumbent, but still, with Biden's approval rating, you'd think they'd at least have a debate, but of course not. They're trying to hide Biden. We know that now based on his horrible debate against Trump. So I think the breakdown here is I think Kennedy could win the statewide Maine. And then I will give, I don't remember how this broke down. I think one of them is for sure going to Newsom or the Democrat, whatever the Democrat, and then the other one's going to Trump. I don't know. I forget which one. But you also do have some of those other states. I'm going to give Kennedy also New Hampshire. probably Trump. I would say Trump is a very slight favorite in New Hampshire. You could argue Biden's a favorite. It's 50-50. I mean, it is what it is. We're too far away from the election to really say anything. But if it is Newsom, I think it's a smaller population. Some people don't like Trump, and then they're like, we're not voting for Newsom. So we'll give RFK Jr. a shout out there, get him 2 states, get him 6 electoral votes. You do have also these other other little dimple states, what I call them. You have to give the Democrat all these states. They're too far gone for Trump. Maybe Maryland, it could be a possibility. Massachusetts is like the 3rd most liberal state. DC, Washington, obviously, is just 90% liberal. There's no chance. Delaware, I don't think there's a chance. Rhode Island, maybe it's smaller population, maybe Kennedy, but that's basically would be my prediction right now when it comes to, well, I didn't mean to do that. Obviously, I want to get the color right. There we go. This would be my prediction. 337 for Trump, 195 for Newsom, and Kennedy Jr. gets on the board with a few states, possibly Maine, the statewide Maine, and then also New Hampshire. So this is very hard to predict, don't get me wrong. And if it is Newsom, the narrative is going to be unbelievable from the Democrats, because what they're going to do is they're going to compare Biden's debate performance with Newsom's debate performance. Obviously, Newsom is going to be significantly better, but we all knew that. Biden has one of the worst debates, so they're going to compare a terrible performance with a great performance and say, look how much better Newsom is. I think this reeks of instability. I think there's no way they can do this. The only thing that they can swing, and I think this is what's going to happen, they're going to keep Biden in, and they're going to say, well, the second half of the debate, Biden was better. They've already tried to swing it yesterday. He was talking in North Carolina, and they're like blaming CNN, like, how was Biden, how was he able to talk like this in North Carolina and get everyone riled up? But during the debate, he was terrible. So they're actually blaming CNN now. And so they're going to use that narrative like he was good during the second half of the debate, leading into the debate on September 10th. And then if Biden can get through that debate, obviously nobody's going to know. Listen, I just cannot see Biden winning. The guy cannot walk. And I think a lot of independents realize it. So that's their problem. But even going to Newsom, I don't think it's just a charade. Like, you're going to go to a new candidate. Maybe it won't be Newsom. Maybe they'll try a retread. Maybe they'll beg Michelle and she'll do it. Maybe Hillary, but I don't think they would retread Hillary. But they need someone with huge name recognition, I think. And Newsom, I don't think, has it. So, and also Newsom from California. A lot of people didn't love, obviously the pandemic situation, it doesn't help at all. Most Americans view that as completely ridiculous that he kept everyone locked down for as long as he did, because he couldn't admit that he lost the COVID battle to DeSantis. And then he loses the population, the homeless problem in California. It's all terrible. There's a lot of problems with Newsom, and that's why they might choose someone else. But it's like, you can't choose one of these smaller liberals who might have a good approval rating in his state, but they're not known. So it's very hard right now for them. I think they might just stick with Biden. This all is very interesting. Trump possibly at 337, Newsom not even cracking 200. And that's with me giving Newsom Virginia. I guess you could argue I could give Newsom New Jersey and then give Trump Virginia. It's basically the same thing. It really doesn't matter. We're too far away from a situation like this. This is just a quick look at what I think potentially could happen. If it is Newsom, the debates probably will change it at least a little bit, but it's going to be a big problem in the Rust Belt, and also Newsom possibly not being on the ballot. But I think they will get a loophole to that if it does come to it. But there are stipulations right now, possibly not on the ballot in Wisconsin. Either way, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.